Rihanléineo by cantiúirí agan agus Tomás Siochan ó Údarás na Gaeltachta a léirú an tacaíochta agus céird iad na foinsí agus in haiminí atá ó hí forbert gnó agus gomórhór forbert na mrá ó hí fhiontraithe de. By cantiúirí mrátá mungno trína McGillery arrow tá níos na forbacha agus gno dá sí héin agus ar céile leos cion fiche sé blian agus stáide agus díir ar cuasaí digitach agus déine siise chuirsís ar arrow an cólacht atácab. In our mask freshen in jo sálan bóthir tí standún an siopa all in sin tá a feimú ní deag cearacha ní maim agus inis an trío glún gon chláán tá clíana standún an seo atá mar príomhaimeach ar siopa standún le leirlín freisin. Now I would like to cura a hort go an Tomás Siochan príomhaimeach Údarás na Gaeltachta le leirlín ar son Údarás.
Tá go leor déanta ag Údarás na Gaeltachta le fada a héh na fhiontraithe. But le cúpla bliana nús tá sé tu le fis go bhfuil rudair lehan. Fhiontraithe na man are female entrepreneurship. And in a láir sin, bunathe ar taide tá déanta going inú na ngáil, líonn si go bhfuil dúchláán ann go sonrach ó héh na mná. And the research shows that the use of language very often keeps women out of entrepreneurship. And ceann na fána atá gceist dar leis an taide bunathe and the research that we've done shows that the use of phrases like entrepreneurship, entrepreneur, and go minic go míon daoine ar nós Elon Musk or Steve Jobs push forward as the way to go or the way to work dissuades people from taking that step. So sin é an taide, and that's the research. But the aon duine sa seomra seo, tá gom go lisa go bhar fad, ar an dalamh, is mná atá a bhail agus a rihan gaciile rud, agus aon rud go bhfuil rathair, tagann sé sin ón na mná. In every community, they're the first to identify who needs a hand and how to address it. They're the first to identify where a local problem needs a solution and how do we come together to work on it. So in rud atá gceist le CUMASÚ about empowering is to change that conversation and to build on the work that all the women in this room and women across the country, both in Gaeltacht areas and outside, have always done. But it's just not being called entrepreneurship. But at its core, it's the same thing. It's solving problems and finding ways to make things better. And very often, where one person can find a solution, they're finding a solution to a problem that's widespread and that creates a market need. So sin é tá gceist. So tá áthas an dánarm go bhfuil an tara dar Ciléirí an seo, tá mé anna bhuiachas líonse seo lena cuaram ach tá sim pársanta get on, and I know go raibh sin seo an Norrig, nuair nach raibh mission seo, and everybody kept telling me it was the best launch of the year and I missed it. So sin é fág go mé géirí bheith an seo. Ach lena héamh tá Orla Flynn uachtarán an ATU, and as well as leading the integration of the ATU and the constituent colleges, Orla is a fantastic example of somebody who has never held back, and even though Haven Gaelge over the last year, Orla has consistently said to me, Tommy Gubberim chud Gaelge, I'm working on my Gaelge, and a shining example not only of an entrepreneurial approach to the work that she does every day, but a can-do approach to seeing what many people see as a blockage to learning Gaelge. It's no obstacle to Orla, and Gurmila Magat Orla Tommy Anavwick will tusin seo chomahaniuv. Nuair hí mé sios an sin bhí mé leabhart le Letitia, agus bhí Letitia cancer in gnótá cíhéin, and she said, you know, it's hard work. And I think dá meach aon téime in Yvonne. Agus is fear é seo fhiontraithe fearan nó buineann, whether they're men or women, managing a business, building a business is hard work. Agus san áit na bhuimuid inis tá Banyon Tree and sin sa Cúine, Eilish Lennon, who has built this business, Studio Cuan, which is a fantastic business. And I'm sure you all agree, Tá go hauling mar out. It's a fantastic place to have a lunch. Ach mar Údarás, bí me de taú lena lehéid, nó dína mar sin atá géirí an obair sin íanamh. So tigamid go maith go bhfuil obair mhuar a gceist. It is hard work. It is the work when nobody else is looking. When that last order comes in and you've had 14 hours and you kind of go, will this one wait till tomorrow? It's all the stuff that nobody else will do unless you do it and you take it on. So tá áthas an dánar miniuh go megan deis éisteach leis na scéalta, that we'll hear the stories of all of those who have done it and taken that step and been so brave and do it. Tá me súl cumála leart le muintear chorcaí agus béalach an gcuirigh, beidir nach bhecinn siad muid, but tá me de géisteach leo. And sulla gairim me gríoch leis, bhálam go sonrach má bhuiachas a choirniúil de Éireann an Údarás. Agus tá go leor darbhhain treis bheith obair seo. Leir Éimeann an Neachtain, Aisling na Gé, Susan ní Cornan atá seo inniuh, agus Pam ní Haig, Pád an Neachtain, Kevin of Fláharta, agus go sonrach Sean of Quistela and Maria, who idir in Vertigo have driven this project from the start. Inniuh, ní bháin go mid a tógáil ar an méid a Harlan Bhíon Chicatsa and building on last year's pilot. But tá mid a tógáil came con chin. Orla be tusan an ráling, this is certainly our first partnership with ATU and MTU. So ní bháin go se tarlu a gunna muo mar Harla agus níos fuide an orig. But it is now all along the Atlantic coast, covering all 7 Gaeltachta counties, and what I hope is a model that we can extend and build on for the future. Mar is an obair atá siúla goibh ar fad. So guim gachrathar a bhiniuh, tá áthas an dánarm túsa chur le imachtaí an lé, and I look forward to hearing all your stories. So gur míle maith goibh ar fad, as teachtain seo inniuh.
Snis chun ar fáilte rih cléanna standún, príomhhaimimeach sipa standún agus Trína McGillery Arrow gon péirsaíocht. So irme ar an bhirrteagaí beidir cuir láthair tá ar dús Trína ar céimhíon mar deartha agus céim gnó atá ag Arrow, Gaeilge agus Béarla.
Okay, so Trína McGillery ó Arrow Digital Strategy Táid tá ofiig agéins na farbacha just sios an bóthir agus táid an sin le haidh blianta fada. We incorporated the business in 1998, and at that stage we had been a few years on the road as well. And ruddy dhéanamid ná package digital do Óstán Navs block. So for independent hotels, dhéanamid on platform I gcóir direct bookings, dhéanamid margaíocht, agus dhéanamid on Jarrad on website. So on package galéir chun go méid siad an seomraí a líno ag an price is fear, agus na daoine is fear a kind of a teachtas go an Óstán.
Iwan in Éireann tá Óstán Internationaltaigh for sure.
Beidir chuig a fangéid in Éireann agus chuig tá lán Óstán san UK agus tá Óstán agin Caribbean gach actually an sin. Yeah. Tá mé ag obair le a fear céile ó náam sin, tá sin scéile ar fád sin. Ach táid fós le céile to business agus personally.
And how many people have you employed in?
So tá caracha agin ag an am seo agus tá sé tá chuid is mó acu sin in Éireann táid ag obair now hybrid tá cúpla daoine teachtas deachtaí an ofaig tá lán daoine ag obair ón bhaile agus tá beirt agin in Tenerife software developers agus sin mar tá sé sais Jackar daoine aáil chun an obair sin a dhéanamh, so táid ag dul thar lear chun bhreanú chun daoine go méid an obair linn. Yeah.
Féidir an postáil Tenerife. Cléanna tí standún tasa an trío glún gon chláán gnó a bhfuil ana ar muinte an dain ó híh cuasaí tarasaireachta agus siompadóireachta agus an gensaí áirin freisin.
So, well, we'll take an leagan fada in Georg.
Písín beag.
Okay. So, hosta muamo agus me yadzo on gno neide carche me agus mortin standún. So, honig siad as blocklia gudín spidel ho bicycle. Agus chonig siad teach beag, bungalow beag le chomhpháirt, and they decided to buy it for, I think, £600 at the time. And they started a small general country store. They expanded the business and they served the people of Connemara, so everything from Wellington boots and Uchtaróta agus petrol, agus the Isle Corrington, so undertakers and butchers. So it was one of those general country stores that served the community far and wide in Connemara. In 1973, my dad took over the business, and they had seen, I suppose, an increase in tourist business in since the 60s. My grandparents were actually the first to export the iron sweater to the US, to Nordstrom and Lord & Taylor, and they had 700 women around the country knitting iron sweaters for them. My granddad used to go around and collect the parts of the sweaters from the women's homes, so it was kind of the only source of employment one of the only sources of employment for women at that time, when once they had children, they were supposed to stay at home. And so he would collect the parts of the iron sweaters, and they were assembled here in Spittal, in where the shop is today. So they were the first export. They were part of a programme with Board Tráchtála at the time that was trying to encourage export to the US. And so nídig seachtútí thosa my dad as no, and my dad wanted to focus more on tourism than on the supermarket undertaker business. I don't blame him. And so he felt that the big supermarkets were coming in and it was time to change. My grandparents had different ideas. They were very sad to see that side of the business go, and my dad said that he used to hear my granny talking to her friends on the phone saying, "Oh, he's making a big mistake. I don't know what he's doing." I think they were very upset, and they loved serving the local people. So, but it was a good move from my dad's point of view, and they Stondings became known as a tourist hub in Connemara, particularly with the tour buses. And it was very seasonal, so open 10 months of the year, very, very busy when it was open, 8 or 10 buses at a time, and known as the place to buy the iron sweater. So all the buses brought people to Stondings to buy their iron sweaters and ship them home. So then in, I was going to say 2010, I took over the business from my dad. So he was 63. He was getting very kind of tetchy about retiring, and I was 26 and in absolutely no interest in taking over. But I was given an ultimatum that he was 40 years running the business at that stage, and he was kind of done. So he also felt that we needed a kind of transformational change. The tourist business was really declining in those years prior to 2010, and he was really worried about the business. But he felt he didn't have the energy to do anything himself, and he had made his big change, and he felt it was up to someone else to make the next change. So in 2010 I took over and it was very difficult, very bleak at that time. It was just kind of during the crash, I suppose, and but we started to introduce products that would interest local people and try to marry both the tourist and the local, try and create a destination that would appeal to both tourists and locals. So we didn't want to lose the tourist business, but the tourist business wasn't strong enough to sustain us. So we introduced new products and renovated the business, and it took a long time. even now people say, is it, that's a kind of tourist shop, but actually 60% of our business is Irish. So it's just very slow to change the perception. But after 14 years, we feel we've kind of gotten it. I think we have it now. So
you've opened a second shop, and I suppose the other development in terms of retail and the business is the whole online and retail online sales. So really, you probably have three businesses there between two shops and a retail. How do you manage, Cliona, to balance all of that, and your strategy for retail and then your strategy for online?
So we would see online and the shops. So we opened a shop in 2018 in Údarás village, and we initially opened the shop. I think 1,000 square foot shop, with the intention to expand it if it worked well. And 2 years ago, then we doubled the size of the shop, so it's now a 2,000 square foot shop in Údarás village. So we see it like three businesses, so the two shops and then the online business. We can kind of get, I suppose, we can achieve maybe 5% growth in sales in the shops. It's very slow and steady, and they're quite established. But with the online business, we can maybe strive to achieve more growth, because there's a wider market there, in the US and Canada, where we'd have a lot of customers. So the last few years, I suppose, our intention was to expand to further retail units, and then COVID hit, and that was very difficult. We had to lay off a team of 25 people, and we, it was very stressful, I suppose. And then we just wanted to focus on keeping everything that we had going. But in the last 2 years, we've really we've put a lot of investment into our online business, and we're starting to see results from that now.
Yeah, the website looks really well, and buying online is seamless. And that's your business, Trina, as such, in terms of hotels, be they based in the Caribbean or here in Ireland or internationally. And you've grown that from a 2-person team to 40. So obviously strategizing and responding to everything that's happening digitally, but particularly amongst the hotel sector. What were the challenges that you faced?
Many and often. Yeah, I mean, if you go back to when we started first, we weren't long in business when the 2001 bubble crash was there. We had to let go of people at that time. That was so difficult, so hard. I'll never forget it, and I think it was
personal
very
as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We've had ups and downs since that, but that was a really hard one, because I think everything had been so fantastic up to that point, and then the reality of running a business really hit us. And I think that that's something that you need to be as really resilient as you're working through. There's always going to be tough times. You would have come then to the whole. We were growing quite significantly in that piece from the early 2000s up to again the crash, and the crash again was very difficult, but probably not as tough on the business, and we were a little bit more steady and a little bit more able to cope with it, to think about it and to work out. We did have to let some people go at that time as well, but it was a little bit more strategically planned and a little bit easier, I think, at that time. And there's always going to be challenges. COVID then, no more than you. I mean, it was such a huge shock. Yeah. One day everybody's in the office and the next day they're not, and they really haven't ever come back since that day. We were probably quite lucky to be already quite strong digitally, just that people were able to take their laptops home and were able to work the next day. We were really glad, and I think the Irish government, in fairness, dealt with, in the UK, people were put on gardening leave so that they weren't working, but they were getting paid. In Ireland, they were getting subsidised. We were paying the rest of their salary, but they were able to stay working. And we were able to actually innovation has been a huge, important part of our business ever since day one, and we always have to move with technology. It goes so fast, and faster it's getting. But we were able to move forward with, innovating our new products and services. So that was actually, it was actually quite good for us. We had just hired an innovation consultant, strategic consultant, with the support of Údarás to help us through an innovation journey. It had to change because of COVID, but it actually, in some other ways, was quite good. So we've now been working with the University of Galway, incorporating artificial intelligence and machine learning into our products. So that's now helping us to be able to understand how the user works, and to look at to the future and to predict.
Your Arrow are really well known and recognised in terms of website design, high-end design, and that. But you're much more than that as a company, especially to hotels, in terms of, again, like Cliona spoke about the online shop being almost another business. You're there to support hotels to grow their revenue, not just provide them with a website and a reservation system.
Absolutely, sin ceart. Yeah, tá gach rud ag teacht le chéile and platform galéir. So we definitely, you've got the website and you've got the software platform, but we also have a really strong team of customer service and digital marketing staff who really understand and work very closely with the customer. So it is a very strong service. It's actually quite an unusual business in that we are a software house, we are a design house, but we're also very customer focused and very invested in the customer, which would be quite different probably than a lot of our competitors, and that would be, we would see that as being a strategic advantage. And the hotels that we work with, we work very closely with them. They're generally smaller hotels and independent, because in that way we're almost their digital arm. They outsource all of that piece of their business to us. So, and our team work closely with them, really understanding the customer, the hotel's brand, really understanding how they present themselves to the outside world, making sure everything is aligned, the advertising, helping them with their social, and getting their story and their brand out into the world.
Okay. Employment, and you spoke about, both of you spoke about staffing and that awful job of having to let go staff when things do get tight. But now the country is at full employment, and there's also the hybrid working model, and you're in retail, so you have to have people on the floor. How do you go about recruiting staff, Cliona, and I suppose and keeping them and nurturing them and developing them?
So I suppose we went through some really difficult times trying to recruit staff just after COVID, when we were, opening and closing. There were a lot of people getting the pandemic payment, and there wasn't much encouragement for people to work. So there were times when I couldn't see how we'd be able to open the doors with how little staff we had. But thankfully, in the last year, we're in a much better place where we have a really strong team. And actually, we have more staff than ever, and we can't take anyone else on at the moment. But we're in a really good place. We're very lucky. But I suppose we'd usually advertise online if we have positions available. I suppose then trying to work with the team to ensure that we want to retain the team that we have, and to kind of make it work for everyone. So it's very difficult when it's a 7-day week operation and everyone wants their weekends off. So it's to try and work with people so that they're happy and they have a good lifestyle as well.
So resilience in business, and also flexibility, and to lead with your team as well. Trina, you spoke about Tenerife and working from Tenerife, and then the whole hybrid, and having your offices in Furbo. Cultivating maybe the culture that was within Arrow, young, dynamic, software design, cool teams. How are you working on that at the moment?
So we have a really strong team. Some of some of our staff have been with us since 1999. I think there's 2 people that are there that long. Actually, both of those had left and came back again.
That's testament.
Yeah, so and then some of them are young, new. You know, a lot of graduates come in, maybe work a year or 2, and they're aiming for the Googles and all of that. And I mean, that's tough because you bring people in, you train them, and you know that they're kind of going to go on this path. But we have a good mix, I think, of that younger, dynamic, moving crew and the solid, strong people that have been with us for many years that really understand the business. And that way you get both kind of the steadiness of keeping the process and the whole thing that we know makes everything work, but also getting the kind of the new, exciting, innovative kind of energy, I suppose, that comes in with the younger gang. I think the whole area of remote working, it's quite a big step and a big change, and there's a huge piece around trust. You know, you've got people that you're paying large salaries to that are working at home. You hear stories from other people about how their kids are out doing stuff and they're supposed to be working in their jobs, and you're going, oh my God. But I think that from our point of view, that we want to make sure that we've got the right, you know, the right software and tools in place, that the work is visible, everybody can see it, people can tick it off. If somebody does it a bit quicker and has to go and have a cup of tea, then it's not an issue for us. And it's a kind of a shift, I suppose, that trust. And it forces us to actually run the business better, because we have to have better metrics, we have to have better, you know, better measurements for each role within the company, so that each of their managers can go and make sure that they're happy, that they know what they're doing, and then that they know that they're actually doing it as well. Yeah.
Very good. We're here for the launch of CUMASÚ and an empowerment programme for women in business, and no better 2 women to have on stage this morning. The supports that you sought as you developed yourselves, and the importance of this programme this morning for all the ladies that are in the room. Can you maybe share some examples of where you got your empowerment from through organisations and programmes like this? I'll start with you, Trina, because I know you're heavily involved in Acorns.
Yeah, I mean, going back to the very beginning, we get connected with Údarás very, very early. Údarás have always been a really strong partner, and, you know, not just in a financial way, in a way of looking at where are you, what are you doing, do you know about this, if you're doing research and development, if you're developing a product, this would be a good way. You could combine these supports, you could get in the strategic consultancy and the advice, and that's always been really, really, really helpful. I think for me, as a woman starting out in business and setting up with my husband, even though I was doing 50% of the work, I always felt it was Alan's business. I think, you know, I think that there was something strange. I think it was quite normal at that time. And I remember maybe about 15 years ago doing a programme called Going for Growth, which is probably not unlike the Empower CUMASÚ. And I went through that whole programme and I loved it, and I really felt, okay, there's a lot of women who feel this way. This is really normal. It's actually not that strange to have that kind of imposter syndrome. So then from there, I did their follow-on programme, and then Paula Fitzsimmons, who runs the programme, asked me to be a lead entrepreneur on the Acorns programme. I actually see some of the Acorns graduates here in the room today. But I've been connected with Network, but I mean, Acorns is where I spend most of my time as such now in this area. But I'm really passionate about helping women. I suppose that because I've come from there myself and I understand, but I have 2 daughters, and I look at how they are and how confident they are, and I love it. I love that they're able to think of themselves as being, you know, equal to any, and can get out there in the world and do their own thing. But I think networking is so important. I think understanding other people's journeys, connecting with other people's journeys. Myself and Clean are talking. It's amazing how similar all businesses are, even though in completely different spaces. We all have to have good quality products and services. We have to keep our customers happy. We have to build our team. We have to make a bit of a profit and, you know, keep growing, innovating.
Innovating. Clean, the wamo lartu fuhi ban intach digersach a vinci. Agus tá fuineh céine beidir an a tain agus iad a grifúr freisin mar tá tú ag gobar led a grifúr I gceannas ar an siopanis.
Adam go donna
Bart rá.
Your loom image for Gatisha. I run the business with my sister 50-50, Lara, and I suppose from a support point of view over the years, I found networking events very useful. I was very active in Network Galway, probably until I had my children, and I find it a bit more difficult to go to Galway in the evenings. Well, maybe sometimes to skip the bedtime routine, but it's been a bit more difficult in the last few years. But I found Network Galway very good. And you mentioned the Going for Growth programme, Trina. My sister's actually taking part in that this year, and she's getting a lot of support from other women in that group. The other place that I have a few friends who have similar family businesses to our own around the country, so we see ourselves, not as competitors, but it's very useful in finding out about, say if we want to switch energy providers or merchant service providers, it's great to be able to bounce that off other people who are in a similar business to our own. So I think that support is really important, and you can kind of feel like you're on your own sometimes, and it's great to be able to go for coffee with someone and just bounce the problems off someone else.
Yes. I suppose the message from both Trina and Cliona is we're all here istis to Shomer Shaw, Nyart Mra, agus a Ballyroin ar clár CUMASÚ, agus by Tarva more adrin a lig a cancel chéile, agus a teach le chéile a grúpi difriúil, agus a grúpi móra comális and fólam go hefigiúil. So the networking, the contacts, the sharing of information and the like-mindedness from today to bring it forward as the programme progresses and develops. There's a lot of small businesses here, some product producers as well, and I'm going to ask Cliona, you buy in from many small indigenous Irish product makers and producers. What do you look for when you're planning your stock and your offering, be it online or in the shop, that may help some of the ladies that are here today in either packaging, branding, or making their pitch to get stocked with you?
Well, firstly, I suppose a strong brand is always important, and it's great when a product has a strong story behind it and point of sale, maybe pictures of the maker and a story that will resonate with our customers. We're always looking for products that fit with our image as well, and we try to champion Irish products, and I suppose quality would be very important, and more recently sustainability would be very important. So these are the kind of things we'd be looking for. Then I suppose price is very important to customers. For us, the cost price, and that there's that the margin would be in line with the margin we'd be looking for, and then that the retail price would be something that customers would be happy to pay for the product. Finally, I suppose a lot of people would approach us with the same type of product, and we'd always be looking for something a little bit different. There's only so many candles we can sell, or but if somebody comes to us with something unique, it's great because it's not competing with anything else we have.
Okay, thank you. It's an excellent case study and a mentorship. Everybody has a website, everybody's selling, everybody's looking to develop a brand, design, etc. And I know you're in the design websites for hotels and that sector. What recommendations would you give, or what, the change is happening incessantly, digitally, for business?
I've come across a lot of small businesses who are maybe building their own websites themselves, right? And I'm always really amazed at how brilliantly people can actually get something up and running while running a whole business, and they're doing this piece as well. But the biggest kind of, I suppose, area that I see for improvement, and I remember learning back in the College of Commerce and Mines years ago about the above the fold on the newspaper, and I think that's the biggest mistake I see, is that people like have a huge big gap up here and you have to scroll way down to get there, you know, so you have to look at having, you know, if you want buy now, purchase now, you need it up top, probably top right, really colour wise, you can see it, and you want to be able to think of how the customer is moving through. What's the customer going to be looking for? Similar to if they're in the shop, you know, you don't want to put something standing in the way of the aisle, so someone has to go all the way out and around there. It won't work. You've got to have the flow. I think that's, you know, to think about the customer. There's tools you can get as well that you can actually look at how the customer is moving through your website, and you can see where they get stuck, and they're really good to actually analyse how your website's working.
Very good. We've been through COVID and we're back on our feet and business as usual and moving on. What is the future for Arrow and where is it going?
For Arrow, the future, I suppose at the moment we're putting a lot of focus into building a senior leadership team. Ultimately, you know, Alan and I aren't getting any younger, and we want the business to be able to survive without us being in the business day to day. So that's a big focus that we're working on the moment, is building that team so that the business can work without us. Innovation, it's been key to our business and our success since day one. If you stand still, you'll be left behind, and we have to keep moving, keep innovating. And yeah, that's the main.
Clean deepse landún will tiile siopí teacht no.
Oh, beidir fecin once. It's not very glamorous, but so last year we were 10.8% up in sales, which we would consider a fantastic year, considering, you know, we're an established business, and you know, a 10.8% year-on-year growth we'd be delighted with. But our costs went up significantly last year. Our electricity costs would normally be 13,000 and they were 45,000.
Oh my God.
And our rates went from 8,000 for the spittle shop to 17,000. So it had a huge effect on us. So, you know, delighted with the growth in sales, and so much hard work went into it. And it was, you know, just profit gone. So this year I feel like I'm spending all of my time just going through all of the costs and just trying to, you know, where previous years I'd be scoping out new opportunities and seeing what I can do to, you know, marketing wise or growth wise. And I'm day after day sitting in the office looking at all of our costs, switching from one phone company to another phone company, switching energy providers, trying to see what grants are available. That's kind of what I'm doing all of the time. So this year, that's what I'm focusing on. We're trying to, you know, increase our sales slightly, but significantly reduce our costs. We're getting solar panels, and we're looking at all of our lighting and to just really reduce our energy costs. But it's not very glamorous, but it's very important. And that's a challenge we're facing.
We have to look at the bottom line, and we have to mind our costs, as well as balancing and moving forward sales wise, and all the glamour of either being in a shop or being at networking events. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes to keep the show on the road. Thank you both very, very much for a very insightful morning. Míle bechas, Steve.